Over a decade since their debut, Universal Audio's Apollo interfaces have become the gold standard in studios worldwide. But it's been close to 6 years since the Apollo X update, and just like the rest of the world, all of us at Vintage King have been waiting to see what's next. Well, friends, the wait is finally over, and I am so excited to introduce the Universal Audio Apollo X Gen 2. That's right, the entire Apollo lineup has been refreshed with a new look, improved conversion, exciting new features, and so much more. There's a ton to cover today, but before we dive into what we're working on here in the studio, let's break down exactly what's new with the latest generation of Apollo interfaces. Okay, so first things first, you can't miss the Apollo's fresh new look and feel. Universal Audio hinted at the change with the Apollo X16D earlier this year, and now the entire series from the Twin all the way up to the X16 have been revived with an updated industrial design and finish. Now, going beneath the exterior, Universal Audio has upgraded the D-to-A conversion across the entire Apollo series. These are the highest resolution D-to-A converters the brand has ever created, with even lower THD and increased dynamic range. Paired with its elite A-to-D conversion, these new Apollos guarantee pristine, album-ready sounds every time you fire up your interface. And of course, speaking of how things sound, one of the biggest updates coming out of the Apollo ecosystem is its monitoring options. Universal Audio's new Apollo monitor correction feature will be live shortly after launch. This feature lets you import SonarWorks sound ID measurements and send correction profiles straight to your Apollo X interface. This is a huge win for existing and new SonarWorks users, and what's more, when the Apollo monitor correction goes live, the feature will run both Apollo X Gen 1 and Gen 2 interfaces. Additionally, we have newly expanded monitoring features within console. One of the highlights is the much requested bass management system for subwoofers, now available in any Apollo X interface. And when it comes to surround sound, you'll have support from the rack mount Apollos with different setups available based on your output count. Both the X16 and X16D take it a step further, offering full compatibility for Atmos 9.1.6 and other immersive audio setups. Universal Audio's world-class preamps continue to stand out as always. The brand's Unison technology allows you to instantly track through top preamps from channel strips from Neve, API, and so much more. The Apollo X Gen 2's mic line high-Z preamp inputs also feature a new auto gain functionality that can be controlled within console. Just set an auto training time listening window before recording, and it will automatically find the perfect setting for your source. You can even set your own desired peak level to perfectly manage your in-the-box gain staging. Like always, owning an Apollo interface means access to a beautiful array of stunning plugins from Universal Audio. There are 3 new levels of plugin bundles that are available with these interfaces, including Essentials Plus, Studio Plus, and Ultimate Plus. Each bundle features an incredible selection of UAD plugins for recording, mixing, and mastering. Now let's take a look at which plugins come in each package. So we're here today at the Scramble Shack. We're stacking 2 Apollo X8P Gen 2s and an Apollo X4 Gen 2 to record and mix Detroit-based rockers Kind Beast. Our good friend Bryan Reilly is back to walk us through how we tracked the band in Luna using the new Apollos, Universal Audio mics, and plugins from the Essentials Plus bundle. Then, in his mix breakdown, he'll finish the song with plugins from the Studio Plus bundle. Friends, the time is here. Let's check out the Apollo X Gen 2s.
I don't need to pray, I don't need to pray, I don't need to pray. It's all been written, already given. You and I are in it to win it. Which means, by the way, you know, giving up the ghost, your everlasting soul. It's already been sold.
Hey everyone, this is Brian here at Scramble Shack Studios in Ferndale, Michigan. And we just got done recording Kind Beast using all of the Apollo X Gen 2 series hardware. And I just want to run you through the mixing process. So Kind Beast is a very loud, just aggressive rock band, and we decided that we wanted to record the band completely live. And then we were going to overdub vocals after the fact. So when we mic'd everything up, we were using 13 inputs. Coming from the Apollo X APs, the Gen 2s, and we were using this X4 only as our monitor controller. So the first thing I did when I started the mix is I put this 1176 Anniversary Edition on the mix bus. And what I love about this plugin is that it has a 2-to-1 ratio. So very minor ratio. I can hit it with a bunch of compression, but you don't necessarily hear it pumping too much. And then I just turn the mix control down a little bit. Then where I like to start is at the foundation, which are the drums. And this is where I started to include the mic modeling now. So for the kick drum, I ended up putting the Hemisphere mic model on here. And now this is modeling a Beta 52. And a cool thing about using the mic modelers is that I was able to duplicate the kick drum. And then on the duplicated track, I can use the mic modeler to make it a sub kick. So I didn't actually have to track a sub kick in order to get one. And then there's no phase or any weird things happening like that. On the snare drum, I also used the mic modeler and just turned it into an SM57, just that classic rock sound. And the only other microphones that I used modeling on in this mix portion here was on the overheads. So I turned those SP1s into KM84s, which just have a little bit more air and a little less mid-range overall to them. The only EQ that I used on the drums is the Pultec EQ-P1A. And so I ended up having one of them on every single drum. The sum of all the drums are being sent to a bus. And on the first insert, I have the distressor, which is included in the Studio Plus bundle, which is what I'm using to do the mix on this project. The distressor is compressing quite a bit, but I'm only using about 20% of the compression signal. And then following that is just another Pultec to shape it how I want to. From the drum bus, I'm sending into a drum parallel bus, which I'm using a distressor again. In this, I'm using the 10-to-1 opto mode, and I'm hitting this pretty aggressively, and it's full 100% compression. And I'm just dialing that in just to add more excitement to the drums overall. And lastly, on the drums, I'm just sending from the drum bus itself to a drum reverb. And for that, I'm using a Lexicon 224. And here's what all that sounds like. For Electric Guitar 1, this is where I added the mic modeling with the Hemisphere plugin. And for the SD7 microphone, I turned that into an M160. And for the SD1 microphone, I turned that into a Biodynamic M88. And then I took the sum of those two and I ran that through a mono aux, which has a Pultec on it, which is really just adding a little bit of bite into 3K. Then you can see I'm attenuating 5K quite a bit just to smoothen out the overall tone. For Electric Guitar 2, I also used two microphones on the cabinet. I turned the SD7 into a 441, and I turned the SC1 into a U67. And there's two different tones in this song, so I broke it up to where he has like chorus tone, verse tone. For the chorus tone, there's just a Pultec and 1176 on there. And for the verse tones, we have our Pultec 1176, but it's also followed by a pure plate reverb just to make it a little more ambient and embellished in the track. So let's hear how those sound. Next up on the vocals, what I wanted to do is I wanted to add a little bit of low end that the 167 quite didn't pick up since he was in a big live room. So I added a little bit of 100 with this Pultec. And then I wanted to tame some of the 5K just to take some of that aggression out of his performance. Then to glue it all together, I used the 1176 LN. And it's just on a 4-to-1 ratio. And then after that, since the 1176 was doing all the heavy lifting, I wanted to put this Fairchild 660 on there. And this adds a little bit more glue overall. And then I use the mix control just to dial it back to about 75%. So even when it does end up hitting pretty hard, you're not really hearing it. Lastly, since Sean and I had multiple conversations throughout the day about tape machines and everything, I wanted to use the Studer A800 on his vocals as well. And this also helped warm it up. So I went down to 7.5 IPS, and then I calibrated. I went up to 7.5 just to hit the tape a little bit harder. And the beautiful thing about this plugin is that you can open it up and you have access to the EQ section. So I also just bumped down the high frequency a little bit as well.
I don't need to pray, I don't need to pray, I don't need to pray. It's all been written, already given. You and I are in it to win it. Which means, by the way, you know, giving up the ghost, your everlasting soul, it's already been sold.
When I started the mix, I texted Sean and I asked him if he had any preferences on what he would want for his vocal production. And he sent me back, I want an 80s Bowie kind of slap back glaze, if that works. So right off the bat, I kind of knew exactly what he was talking about. So first thing I reached for was this Galaxy Tape Echo. And I just used this slap depth preset, which was great. We also recorded in the room. We used the Sphere DLX like far away in the room as basically just like an ambient sound as well. So I ended up not processing that at all. And I just turned that up just to kind of add more space around the vocal. Then to get that dreamy type of sound that he wanted, I used the Pure Plate. And for that, I ended up cranking the pre-delay up to pretty close to 50 milliseconds. Then to add this more dreamy type of sound, I used the Brigade Chorus. And so his vocal is ascending to that. So there's a chorus effect that's just tucked in general underneath the entire vocal. But then I ascend from the chorus to the reverb. So then now the reverb itself is actually getting a blend of the chorus as well. So the combination of all that vocal production sounds like this.
I don't need to pray, I don't need to pray, I don't need to pray. It's all been written, already given. You and I are in it to win it. Which means, by the way, you know, giving up the ghost, your everlasting soul, it's already been sold.
So lastly, for the bass guitar, we used an 1176 on the first insert. That's followed by our Pultec, which mainly is only taking off some of the sub-frequency at 30 because those very low notes ended up running away a little bit. And then for this type of music, you kind of have to have an SVT on it. And for this, we use the SVT VR Classic, which comes with the Studio Plus bundle. And this just adds so much growl and life to that DI bass tone. I gotta say, I felt pretty spoiled today working on this project. We had an amazing band come in, have an amazing room to record in. We have these absolutely amazing Gen 2 XAPs to track through. We have all of the amazing universal audio microphones. Just working with Luna, working within the entire ecosystem, it just made everything seamless and just sound great right away. And as great as the first series of the Apollos are, this next generation just makes everything that much better. Just more open, just closer to the finish line right from the gate. And without further ado, here's the final mix.
And she knows where the action is. She knows where the bodies are buried. Experience. She's killed the father, I'm told. Sacrificed her dad. And now we're all the way free. Then she says you won't be leaving until the gasoline burns clean, till nothing remains, nothing remains, nothing remains. I don't need to pray, I don't need to pray, I don't need to pray. It's all been written, already given. You and I are in it to win it, which means by the way you know, giving up the ghost, your everlasting soul. It's already been sold. And I'm always pursued by the winds of truth, by the ghost of you. I tried so hard to go blind, but your light cut through.